In this video, we are going to talk all about fat loss versus muscle gain, which one you should be doing, and also the nutrition aspect of how to do both of these, and if you can even do both of them at the exact same time. So stick with me, and we're going to talk all about it. What is going on, everybody? It is Ryan at No Limits Fitness Coaching. I hope all of you are doing great out there, getting your workouts in and getting the results that you are looking for. Today, like I said, we are going to talk about fat loss versus muscle gain. A lot of people think that you have to either pick one or the other. Some people argue about muscle gain and fat loss at the same time. So we're going to talk all about that, how you can accomplish each of these goals separately, and then possibly how you can do it at the same time as well. Now, to start off with, we're going to talk about fat loss. Now, to accomplish each of these things, but whether it's fat loss or muscle gain, your nutrition program is really going to depend on where you're at the moment, what your physical capabilities are, what your fat percentage is on your body, your experience weightlifting, and how much muscle mass you already have on your frame. So all of these things are going to play a big role on both the results that you can get in a short amount of time, as well as what your calories and macros need to be. So just make sure you understand that you have to calculate these things on a very, very personal level. And what I'm going to be talking about is kind of generalized. So you can't just necessarily go by the numbers that I throw out there, but this is a general rule that we can all stick to as well. The things we're going to talk about are a little bit more of the key aspects of each of these portions, whether it's fat loss or muscle gain. The first key aspect we'll discuss is that of our calories. Now, calories are the biggest factor into whether we're losing fat and also gaining muscle. Now, you need to, in general, have a calorie deficit if you want to be losing fat. If you want to be gaining muscle in general, you need to have a calorie surplus. We'll dive a little bit deeper into each of these and whether it's necessary to have the surplus or deficit to get to your goals. But in general, know that if you're trying to lose fat, you probably need to be in a deficit. If you're trying to gain muscle, you probably need to have a slight surplus in our calories. So first thing to worry about is calories, but then the next thing we have to look at nutrition-wise is our protein. The wonderful thing about protein is it really doesn't matter if you're trying to gain muscle or burn fat as your primary objective. Protein should stay the same. Protein really has to be consistently high all the time. And when I say high, most of you know, if you follow my videos, that I recommend a 0.7 grams to 1 gram per pound of body weight. Now that might sound confusing, but it's super simple. If you weigh 200 pounds, you should be shooting anywhere from about 150 grams to 200 grams per day of protein. Very easy calculation. So anywhere from 0.7 grams to 1 gram per pound of body weight. This is a lot of protein if you consider the average American's diet. Most people consider if they get 80 grams of protein really high. And it's just not. It's not the case. And if you look at the cases around the world of obesity, of unhealthiness, it's usually because their diet is low in protein. It's high on everything else but low in protein. So really making sure that our protein is on track is going to be that very key aspect. So again, first is calories. The second is protein. We have to worry about those two things first. Once you have those dialed in, really the rest of it can fall into place quite simply. When we're talking about carbs and fats, many people have a lot of different opinions on what they should be getting in or what people should be doing to get to their goals. You know, you've heard of paleo and keto, Atkins, Whole30. There's so many different variations that all talk about different macro ratios, your fats and your carbs. Quite frankly, science proves that you don't really have to worry about those as much. If you get your protein and your calories dialed in, you'll make results. Okay, so then let's talk a little bit about each of these goals individually, a little bit more in depth on what you need to do to accomplish these things, and if it's possible to do them at the same time. Now, if you guys are liking this video, hopefully you are, but I'd love it if you gave a thumbs up and hit subscribe also if you're not already a subscriber. So just take a quick second and do that. I'd really appreciate it. But to continue on, all right, so we're going to start with fat loss. Now, if you want to be losing fat as your primary objective, calories need to be in a small deficit. At least a small deficit. Now, when I say small deficit, we're talking about your calories being under your maintenance calories. So you really should know on how many calories and how much energy your body requires on a daily basis to function, to survive, to just go about living and doing the daily activities that you do on a constant basis. If you're not quite familiar of how to get that calculation or how to really understand that, I've got a great video for you. Make sure you check that out right here. I'll post it in the description and in the card, and you can go ahead and check that video out. Explains everything about how to get that number. So once you have that understanding of the calculation, you really should be about 200 to 500 calories based on you individually, 200 to 500 calories below that number on a daily basis. You don't want to go much lower than that because your body can start reacting negatively and start holding on to the fat a little bit. So you don't really want to do that. It can cause a whole bunch of complications. Going any higher and you're really going to stall your fat loss as well because there's just not enough of a deficit to be burning a lot. Plus, you're not putting in that safety net. We all make miscalculations and nothing's an exact perfect science. So really 200 to 500 calories under what your maintenance is should get you your primary objective of burning fat at the fastest rate possible. Understanding also that 1, possibly 2 pounds of fat loss per week is the most you can possibly get. If you're losing much more than that, you're probably taking off muscle and probably most of it's water anyways. If you safely go for 1 to 2 pounds of body fat per week, it can be consistent, sustained, and will stay off in the long run. So trying to do these fad diets where it pushes off a ton of weight in just a month, they really aren't sustainable. So it's key to understand that as well. So for fat loss, just as a recap a little bit, 200 to 500 calories under your maintenance level, but also sticking with the 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body fat or body weight. So make sure you're having those numbers dialed in every single day and you'll get the results that you want when it comes to fat loss. Now, for muscle gain though, this is kind of a hotly debated topic. How many calories you need to build muscle. Now, plain and simple, you don't have to be really in a calorie surplus to build muscle. But if you're like me, if you're close to your potential, if you've got a decent amount of body mass, of muscle mass, not huge, but a decent amount, you probably will need to be in a calorie surplus to put on muscle. You don't have to go crazy. I'm not talking about 1,000 calories over your maintenance, but a good couple hundred calories at least is probably going to be required. So making sure you take that number again, your maintenance calories, adding about 200 calories to it, 200 to 300 calories, and getting that on a daily basis. But again, making sure the protein stays at least 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. That protein requirement, again, I'm going to hammer that into all of our heads. It is the most important thing we have to be doing, along with our calorie count as well. So make sure that protein stays really high and work hard to get that protein in. But now we're going to talk about the all-important question: can you lose fat and build muscle at the same time? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it depends. I know you all love hearing that, right? It depends. But truly, it is based on you individually. Again, if you're close to your genetic potential, both in muscle mass and in fat loss, you're probably not going to be able to accomplish both things at once. If you do, it will be very gradual on both ends. A little bit of muscle and a little bit of fat loss. If you are closer to a beginner, you 100% can do both things at the same time. This quite often is why beginners don't see much of a change on the scale, even though they're working really hard at both their training and their nutrition. So how is it that you can go about doing this, especially if you're a beginner, in losing fat and gaining muscle at the same time? Well, what we're going to really have you do is drop your calories just under your maintenance. So maybe 100 to 200 calories under. You need to be in that deficit to be able to lose the fat. But keeping the protein really high, staying hydrated, and killing your workouts. Making sure that your workouts are giving everything you have. The effort should be all out, as hard as you can go. If you have that stimulus from your workouts, you're hydrated, you have enough protein in your diet, those are the key aspects for muscle building. So if you are doing these aspects and then just under your maintenance calories, you should see changes in your body, both in fat loss and building muscle, which is going to give you that lean, toned, muscular look everybody's after. We constantly hear you want to get toned and ripped. Well, guess what? I hate to tell you, there is no such thing as toning. You can lose fat and build muscle, and that's how you get that look. So if that's what you're looking for, if you're trying to just get in great shape, stick with what we talked about. Make sure that you keep the protein high, the calories just under maintenance, hydrate a lot, and kill your workouts. Put a ton of effort into those workouts. One of the ways that you can put a lot of effort into your workouts, check out this video right here, and you can see the ways that I suggest that you keep that intensity high and how hard you should be working on a regular basis.